Be me, 27-year-old corporate diversity consultant, sitting at parents' kitchen table for our monthly family dinner. Mom Madison is late as usual, probably at her pottery class or book club or whatever. Dad, Charles, looks tired, more tired than usual. He's been working double shifts at the plant for years now. Always wondered why he settled for such mediocre work when he used to talk about being an engineer. Mom finally shows up, doesn't apologize, just starts talking about her friend Sarah's new yoga retreat. Charles, did you pick up my dry cleaning? And I need you to call the contractor about the deck. Dad just nods quietly. This dynamic has always bothered me, but tonight something feels different. Decide to speak up about the obvious inequality I'm witnessing. Mom, maybe you could handle some of these errands yourself. Dad works long hours. Madison rolls her eyes. Sweetie, your father doesn't mind. He's always been better at handling these practical things. Feel my blood pressure rising. This is exactly the kind of domestic labor distribution that perpetuates gender inequality. Dad has been enabling this for years, and it's honestly embarrassing. That's not the point, Mom. It's about equitable distribution of household responsibilities. Charles looks up from his meatloaf. Actually, there's something I need to tell you both. His voice has this strange quality I've never heard before. Cold. Final. Madison keeps chattering about her friend's divorce settlement, not even paying attention to her own husband. Classic self-absorption that I've been trying to get her to address for years. I'm leaving, Madison. The words hang in the air like a bomb. Madison stops mid-sentence about property division. What do you mean leaving? Like a business trip? Charles actually laughs, but it's bitter. No, I'm leaving you. This marriage, this house, all of it. Feel like the floor just disappeared beneath me. This cannot be happening. Our family is supposed to be progressive, egalitarian. We talk through problems. We don't just abandon ship. Dad, what are you talking about? You can't just leave. That's not how relationships work. He looks at me with eyes I don't recognize. Relationships? What relationship? For 15 years, I've given everything I had to this family. Madison finally seems to understand what's happening. Charles, you're being ridiculous. We can discuss whatever's bothering you like adults. Discuss? Charles's voice gets louder. When have we ever discussed anything? When have you ever asked what I wanted or needed? Start feeling this panic rising in my chest. This is not how enlightened people handle marital issues. There are counselors, mediation, communication strategies. Dad, you're clearly having some kind of crisis, but running away isn't the solution. He turns that cold stare on me. Crisis? You want to know about crisis? I gave up my engineering degree to support your mother's art phase. Remember that? Madison waves her hand dismissively. That was temporary, and you said you didn't mind. I gave up my career dreams, my financial stability, everything. Charles is standing now, his face red. I worked jobs I hated to pay for your classes, your hobbies, your constant need for new experiences. Feel compelled to defend Mom because this attack feels misogynistic. Dad, supporting your partner's growth and self-actualization is part of marriage. Self-actualization? He laughs again. What about my self-actualization? What about my growth? Madison looks genuinely confused. Charles, I never stopped you from pursuing your interests. My interests? He's shouting now. When did you ever ask what my interests were? When did you ever show even the slightest curiosity about what I might want? This is getting uncomfortable. Need to redirect this toward productive communication. Dad, you're obviously feeling unheard, but that doesn't justify abandoning your family. Unheard? I've been invisible for 15 years. He's pacing now, gesticulating wildly. I gave you emotional support through every crisis, every breakdown, every drama with your friends. Madison crosses her arms. That's what spouses do, Charles. But when did you ever support me? When I lost my job 3 years ago, what did you do? Remember that time. Mom was stressed about money and spent a lot of time venting to her friends. Seemed natural that Dad would handle it quietly. You handled it well, Dad. You found another job quickly. I handled it. I was devastated. I cried in my car every day for 2 months. Madison looks surprised. You never told me that. Because every time I tried to talk about my feelings, you had bigger problems. This conversation is spiraling out of control. Families don't just implode like this without warning signs. Dad, if you were unhappy, you should have communicated that clearly, instead of building up resentment. Charles stops pacing and stares at me. Communicated? Like how I told your mother I was exhausted and needed help with bills. You said it was temporary, Madison protests. That was 8 years ago, Madison. 8 years of me working overtime while you found yourself. Feel this awful realization creeping in. Maybe Dad has been trying to communicate, but also, his approach has been passive-aggressive and conflict-avoidant. Dad, passive communication patterns aren't Mom's fault if you weren't being direct. Direct? I begged her to get a job, multiple times. She said it would interfere with her personal development. Madison shifts uncomfortably. I was going through a difficult period. 15 years, Madison. 15 years of difficult periods. Charles sits back down heavily. I gave you unconditional love. Unconditional, no matter how you treated me, how you dismissed me, how you made me feel small. Madison's voice gets defensive. I never made you feel small. You introduced me to your book club as just my husband, Charles's, last month. That's just a figure of speech. No appreciation, Madison. Not once in 15 years have you thanked me for anything. Feel like I need to intervene before this gets more toxic. Dad, it sounds like you both have different love languages and communication styles. Love languages? Charles looks at me like I'm insane. She doesn't love me at all. There's no affection, no partnership, no respect. Madison stands up abruptly. That's completely unfair, Charles. Is it? When's the last time you asked about my day? Long silence. When's the last time you initiated any kind of physical affection? Longer silence. When's the last time you treated me like your partner instead of your employee? Madison's face is getting red. I don't have to sit here and listen to this character assassination. She storms toward the kitchen. Charles calls after her. See, even now you're walking away instead of listening. Feel this desperate need to fix this situation. Families can work through anything with proper communication and commitment. Dad, sit down. We can work through this rationally. He looks at me with something like pity. Work through what? Her complete inability to see me as a human being? That's an extreme characterization. Is it? Tell me one thing your mother has sacrificed for this family. Try to think of examples. She gave up her gallery dreams to focus on family. Except she never actually gave that up, just moved it to a hobby. She manages the household. Except Dad does most of the actual work. Mom provides emotional labor and household management. Emotional labor? Like what? Struggle to think of specific examples. She organizes family events. I plan those events. I cook for them. I clean up after them. She provides emotional support. To who? When? Realize I mostly go to Dad when I need support. Mom is great for fun conversations, but not serious problems. She's working on herself to be a better partner. For 15 years? How long does self-improvement take? Madison returns from the kitchen with a glass of wine. Are you finished with your little tantrum, Charles? The dismissiveness in her tone is actually shocking. Even I can hear it now. Tantrum? I'm telling you I'm leaving and you call it a tantrum? Because you're being dramatic and emotional. Feel a weird cognitive dissonance. If a man called a woman dramatic and emotional for expressing feelings, I'd be furious. But when Mom does it, I'm not sure how to respond. Madison, he's clearly expressing genuine concerns. Mom looks at me like I've betrayed her. Don't take his side just because he's having a breakdown. I'm not having a breakdown, Charles says quietly. I'm having a breakthrough. I finally understand that nothing I do will ever be enough for you. That's not true. Name one thing I do that you appreciate. Madison opens her mouth, then closes it. You work hard. And you're reliable. Like appliance? Long, uncomfortable silence. Madison tries again. You're a good father. Because I do all the actual parenting while you focus on your personal journey. Madison's face crumples. Charles, I don't understand why you're being so cruel. Cruel? I've never said a harsh word to you in 15 years. Then why are you saying them now? Because I'm done pretending this is a marriage. Feel this panic attack starting. Chest getting tight, hands shaking. This cannot be happening. Our family is supposed to be different. We're supposed to be evolved, conscious, progressive. Dad, you can't just give up on 15 years. He looks at me with exhausted patience. Sweetheart, I didn't give up. I gave everything. There's a difference. But marriage is work. You have to fight for it. I've been fighting alone for 15 years. Madison starts crying. But even her crying feels performative, focused on her own pain rather than understanding his. Charles, please, we can go to counseling. We've been to 3 different counselors. You turned every session into a discussion of your childhood trauma. That trauma affects our relationship, but my feelings never mattered enough to discuss. Remember those counseling sessions. Mom did dominate the conversation. Thought it was because she was more emotionally articulate. Now wondering if Dad just gave up trying to be heard. Dad, maybe you need to take more space in those conversations. Maybe your mother needs to leave some space for me to fill. Madison slams her wine glass down. I am not responsible for your inability to advocate for yourself. Charles laughs bitterly. There it is. Even my feelings are my fault. That's not what I said. It's exactly what you said. I'm responsible for being ignored in my own marriage. Feel like I'm watching everything I believed about my family crumble. This dynamic has been there forever. Just never saw it clearly. Always assumed Dad was naturally quiet. Mom was naturally expressive. Never considered that she might be steamrolling him. Dad, I'm sorry if I never noticed you were unhappy. You noticed. You just assumed it was normal. Realize he's right. Have made comments about Dad being low maintenance and easygoing. Like those were positive traits instead of signs of someone who'd given up. But you can't just leave. What about our family values? What values? The ones where your mother's needs always come first. Madison stands up again. That is completely unfair. Is it? Name one major decision we've made based on what I wanted. Silence. Name one time you've inconvenienced yourself for my happiness. More silence. Name one sacrifice you've made for this family. Madison's voice gets shrill. I sacrificed my independence to be a wife and mother. You've never acted like a wife or mother. You've acted like a teenager I'm financially supporting. Feel compelled to defend Mom even though his points are hitting home. Dad, that's really harsh. Harsh? She hasn't cooked a meal in 5 years. Hasn't cleaned the house. Hasn't contributed financially. Hasn't provided emotional support. I do plenty for this family, Madison protests. Like what? Specifically, I manage our social calendar. You make plans and I execute them. I maintain family relationships. You gossip with relatives while I send the cards and gifts. I provide creative energy to our home. You create messes that I clean up. Each response is devastating because it's accurate. Never noticed how lopsided everything is. Always thought Dad enjoyed taking care of details. Dad, maybe you never expressed that you wanted things to be different. I bought you a dishwasher for your birthday 3 years ago. What did that tell you? Remember that. Mom was offended because it wasn't romantic. I supported her position because household appliances as gifts seemed regressive. Now realizing Dad was desperately trying to communicate his exhaustion. That was you asking for help with dishes. That was me begging for acknowledgement that I do everything around here. Madison's crying harder now, but still not really listening, focused on her own emotional experience rather than understanding his perspective. Charles, if you're this unhappy, why didn't you leave years ago? Because I loved you. Because I believed you'd eventually see me as a person worth caring about. I do care about you. No, Madison. You care about what I do for you. You've never cared about me. Feel this rage building up. This whole conversation feels like an attack on everything I believe about relationships and gender dynamics. Dad, you're talking like Mom is some kind of monster, but she's just trying to find words to defend her. But every example I think of proves his point. She's just what, sweetheart? She's just different, more expressive, more creative, more what? More important? The word slips out before I can stop it. Madison gasps. Charles nods slowly. There it is. She's more important. Her feelings, her needs, her dreams, her comfort. Feel sick to my stomach. Never consciously thought that, but maybe unconsciously believed it. That's not what I meant. It's exactly what you meant. And it's exactly how this family has operated for 15 years. Madison recovers from her shock. Charles, you're poisoning our daughter against me. I'm not saying anything that isn't true. Truth is subjective. Charles stares at her. Is it subjective that you haven't had a job in 8 years? Is it subjective that I pay every bill, do every chore, handle every responsibility? Is it subjective that you've never once asked what I need or want? Madison's face gets defensive. I ask you things all the time. You ask me to do things for you. That's not the same thing. Realize he's absolutely right. Mom's questions are always requests or demands. What did you make for dinner? Did you call the insurance company? Can you drive me to Sarah's? Never, how was your day? What do you need? How can I help you? Feel this horrible understanding creeping in. Maybe Dad has been invisible in his own family. Maybe I've been complicit in that invisibility. Dad, I'm sorry if we haven't been attentive enough to your needs. Attentive enough? You've been completely oblivious. Madison tries to regain control of the conversation. Charles, this is all very dramatic, but marriages go through rough patches. 15 years isn't a rough patch, Madison. It's a lifestyle. So you're just going to abandon your family? I'm going to stop enabling your selfishness. Words hit like a physical blow. Mom has always been focused on her own experience. Thought it was healthy self-advocacy. Now seeing it might be pathological self-centeredness. Dad, don't say things you can't take back. I can't take back 15 years of being treated like hired help. Madison's voice gets manipulative. What about our daughter? How can you do this to her? Do what? Stop modeling unhealthy relationship dynamics? You're destroying her family. I'm showing her what self-respect looks like. Feel this desperate need to fix everything. Relationships can be repaired with communication and effort. Nobody has to be the villain here. Dad, what if Mom commits to making changes? Madison jumps on this. Yes, I'll change. We can work on this together. Charles looks at her with complete exhaustion. Madison, you don't even know what needs to change. Tell me. I'll listen. I've been telling you for 15 years. You've never listened before. I'm listening now. No, you're performing. You're saying what you think will make me stay. Realize he's right again. Mom's sudden willingness to change feels reactive rather than genuine. Like she's negotiating rather than understanding. But Dad, people can change. Growth is possible. People can change when they recognize they need to. Your mother doesn't think she's done anything wrong. Madison protests. Of course I've made mistakes. Name one. Long silence. I could have been more appreciative. Of what specifically? Of things you do. What things? You know, the things you do. Can't even identify specific contributions because she's never paid attention. Madison, you can't appreciate what you've never noticed. Feel this panic rising again. If Dad leaves, everything changes. Our family identity, my relationship with both parents, my understanding of healthy relationships. Dad, what about me? What about our relationship? We'll always have a relationship, sweetheart, but it doesn't have to include watching me be treated poorly. I don't want you to be treated poorly, but I don't want our family to end either. The family ended years ago. I've just been pretending it existed. Madison makes one last desperate attempt. Charles, I love you. Doesn't that count for anything? You love the idea of me. You love having someone to take care of everything while you focus on yourself. That's not true. When's the last time you did something purely for my benefit? Something that cost you time, or effort, or comfort? Another devastating silence. When's the last time you put my needs ahead of your wants? Madison's face crumples completely. I don't know. I know. Never. Not once in 15 years. Feel like I'm drowning. Everything I thought I knew about my family is wrong. Everything I thought I knew about healthy relationship dynamics is wrong. Maybe everything I thought I know about gender equality is wrong too. Dad, this feels like you're abandoning us when we need you most. I need me most. For the first time in 15 years, I'm going to prioritize my own needs. But that's selfish. Charles looks at me with something like disappointment. Is it selfish when your mother does it? That's different. How? She's been socialized differently. She's reclaiming her agency after years of patriarchal conditioning. And what about my years of being conditioned to sacrifice myself for others? Can't answer because it challenges everything I believe about power dynamics. Dad, men and women face different pressures in relationships. Yes, men are pressured to give everything and ask for nothing. I'm done with that pressure. Madison tries one more manipulation. Charles, think about what people will say. Think about how this will look. I've spent 15 years thinking about how things look instead of how they feel. People will think you're having a midlife crisis. People will think what they think. I'm done managing everyone else's perception of my life. Realize I'm crying now. Not just sad tears, but angry, frustrated tears. This doesn't fit my understanding of how enlightened people handle conflict. Dad, running away isn't the answer. I'm not running away. I'm running toward a life where my existence matters. Your existence matters to us. My usefulness matters to you. There's a difference. Feel this awful recognition that he's absolutely right. Have always valued Dad for what he provides, rather than who he is. Never really considered his inner life, his dreams, his emotional needs. I don't want to lose you. You've never had me. You've had my services. Madison makes one final desperate play. Charles, if you leave, I'll have nothing. You'll have exactly what you've always had. Yourself. The only person you've ever cared about. That's cruel. It's honest. Something I should have been years ago. Charles stands up and heads toward the door. I've already moved my things out. The house is yours, Madison. The bills are yours too. Madison follows him. Charles, please, I can't handle everything alone. You've never handled anything, that's the problem. I need you. You need someone. Anyone who will make your life easy while you focus on yourself. That's not true. Find someone else to use. I'm done. Feel this complete emotional breakdown starting. Screaming at Dad as he reaches the door. You can't just leave. You can't just give up on us. That's not what good men do. He turns back one last time. Good men don't abandon their families. But good men also don't allow themselves to be treated like servants in their own homes. You're being dramatic. I'm being honest, finally. Madison grabs his arm. Charles, I love you. I'll change. I promise I'll change. He gently removes her hand. Madison, you can't change something you don't believe is wrong. I believe it's wrong now. No, you believe my leaving is wrong. That's not the same thing. Charles looks at both of us one last time. Maybe someday you'll understand that love isn't just a feeling you have. It's actions you take. It's attention you pay. It's sacrifice you make. I sacrifice. You sacrifice nothing. Ever. For anyone. He opens the door. I gave everything I had for 15 years. I got nothing back except demands for more. Madison collapses into a chair, sobbing, but even her crying feels self-focused, like she's mourning the loss of her caretaker rather than understanding his pain. Feel this rage and confusion and heartbreak all mixed together. Want to chase after Dad and convince him he's wrong. but also starting to see that maybe he's completely right. Maybe I've been as selfish and oblivious as Mom. Maybe our whole family dynamic has been toxic and I've been defending it because it benefited me. Sit in the kitchen with Madison as she cries, realizing that everything I thought I knew about relationships, about fairness, about love, has been completely wrong. And the worst part is that I don't know how to fix any of it, because fixing it would require admitting that I've been part of the problem this whole time. That my enlightened feminist principles somehow blinded me to my own father's humanity. That maybe being progressive doesn't automatically make you a good person. That maybe I'm exactly as selfish and entitled as he said we were. And I have no idea what to do with that realization.